Today, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul charged 3 main players in Donald Trump's 2020 fake elector scheme with felony forgery. Now, the fake electors out of that state have not been charged and will not be charged. That is part of the legal strategy that the Attorney General is moving forward with. But the individuals who are facing charges include Kenneth Chesebro, who is the attorney and advisor to the campaign. He is the individual who orchestrated and kind of was the architect of the fake elector scheme. He also referred to the fake elector scheme as the fake elector scheme in email messages that he sent out, which was a dumb thing to do. Mike Roman is another individual who's getting charged. He was the head of the election day operations for the Trump campaign. And finally, Jamie Troupis, who's Trump's attorney in Wisconsin. So they're being charged with helping the fake electors to submit the paperwork that stated that Trump was actually the real winner of the 2020 presidential election. And they weren't really subtle about their plan either. During or around the time of a December 14th, 2020 meeting, Chesebro sent a message to Troupis and Roman that said, Wisconsin meeting of the real electors is a go, the complaint said. Troupis responded with a thumbs up emoji, the complaint said. The complaint also details how the fake elector slate was delivered to Chesebro from Wisconsin to Washington, D.C. on January 5th, 2021 by Alicia Gunther, a law student working part-time at the Republican Party of Wisconsin. Roman told her to deliver the paperwork only to Chesebro. 5 minutes until I make the drop, Gunther texted at one point, according to the complaint. And then she says, I feel like a drug dealer. Now, the 3 men are due in court in September. Each one of them faces 6 years in prison and $10,000 in fines. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers had an in-depth, sophisticated reaction to these charges, writing simply good. Now, Wisconsin's Attorney General stated that the investigation into the fake elector scheme is not done, and others may face charges, including maybe the fake electors themselves. But for now, it appears that he is in fact holding off on charging the fake electors who claim that they were tricked into signing the documents.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. Yeah, so now it's a number of states, Georgia, Wisconsin, and others, Arizona, et cetera, that are going after the fake elector scheme. Thank God. Merrick Garland took forever. I read a law blog today about Merrick Garland, and yes, people that have done this for a long time are confirming what I've been saying all along. He was so timid, so afraid. All of this should have happened in 2021. Here we are all the way in 2024, and it's taking local prosecutors to do it. It should have been done at the federal level by Merrick Garland. I'm glad that the states are doing it now. I wish states started in 2021 as well, so we could have already been. This could have been adjudicated and you could know what kind of a criminal Donald Trump is and how he tried to steal this election. These are his lawyers, people working for him. So guys, to give you a sense of how clear the guilt here is. Number one, the 10 fake electors in Wisconsin have already admitted, yes, Biden won the election. So they knew that Biden had won the election, but they were trying to steal it for Donald Trump. And they knew, as Anna just read to you, that the real electors were voting at some point. And they knew that they were not the real electors, they were the fake electors. It is crystal clear. And then more quotes. One of the emails says, quote, nothing about our meeting with the president can be shared with anyone. Who says that about a perfectly good legal meeting? Don't share anything we just said with the president about this, because the implication is obvious. We could be in legal trouble if that wasn't clear enough.
Hold on, I got to push back on that a little bit. I mean, we get internal emails at TYT saying these are internal emails, do not forward them or share them with the public, right?
So that's a fair point, Anna, but think about the context, right?
No, I know about the context here.
So if they were having no, I mean it for Trump. If these guys were having conversations with Trump about how to invade Iran, about our nuclear secrets, of course they could say don't share with anyone else.
Yeah.
But they're having conversations with Trump about how to overturn the election.
I know, I'm saying that statement alone is not necessarily indicative of criminality.
Yeah, okay, but within this context,
Yeah.
it heavily implies criminality.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's like the weakest thing to cite. I mean, they were fake electors and they signed documents indicating that they were the real electors when they weren't. Like, yes, there's a lot of evidence against these individuals. I'm not saying they're innocent, please understand that. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything if someone says, hey, keep that meeting between us. I say that approximately 28 times a day.
I got you,
Yeah.
But in this context, I think it is interesting data point, okay? Here's another data point. They're talking about January 6th and the need to make sure Mike Pence doesn't certify the election of the real electors. And they say, quote, obviously the discussion of such tactical options is highly confidential. Now, again, you could interpret it generously and say, well, I mean, they're figuring out their legal options on how to overturn the election, and that's why it should be highly confidential. Or you could look at it as most rational people would and say, yeah, it should be highly confidential because we're trying to steal a freaking election here, and you don't want to admit it as much as we already have it admitted in emails, including the use of the phrase fake electors.
So the fake elector scheme, dates back to the 2020 presidential election. It is now 2024. Josh Kaul is not the new attorney general. He's been attorney general in the state of Wisconsin since 2019. So like, I don't understand, like, it is good that he is pursuing this. I want you guys to understand, it is good that he is pursuing this. I want to know why he didn't pursue it much earlier.
Well, that's the irony we've pointed out in all these cases. Guys, to be clear, we have a position that is pretty unique. As far as I know, no one else has this position that I think is actually relatively obvious. I think the timing of these cases is political.
Yes.
And so if they weren't political, you would have immediately started all of these investigations that are absolutely necessary in 2021. Instead, the Democrats waited and waited. And when I say Democrats, I don't mean the Matt Gaetz theory that it's all coordinated, etc. I mean individual Democratic DAs, prosecutors, the Attorney General at the federal level. They all waited. They didn't want to prosecute Donald Trump. Now, here's the part that no one else says, because everybody's on their 0 or 100 side, right?
100%, yes.
And so the reality is they didn't want to prosecute Trump because he's one of the elites. And so they thought, well, if we prosecute President Trump, well, maybe they might prosecute President Biden or Attorney General Eric Holder, who clearly broke the law under Obama, et cetera, et cetera. So protect the elites, protect the elites. So, but then they panicked because, Trump is
gonna
run, and the idiots thought he wasn't gonna run.
That's right.
And so then they bring the cases they should have brought.
And guys,
they should have brought the cases. They should have brought them earlier. Now you bring them now, and people legitimately go, why now?
Okay, so look, the reason why I think it's a huge problem that the timing is politically motivated is because look at what the backlash following the verdict in the hush money case has been. There has been a lot of backlash because it does appear to most people in the country, other than hyper partisans on the left, that it was a politically motivated trial, a politically motivated case, and that it was unfair to Trump, which is why he literally raised hundreds of millions of dollars following that verdict.
So Anna, you make a good point that it seems unfair to a lot of people, and we've talked about that. But let's be clear on the polling. 57% of the country thinks he definitely did it.
Yes, they agree that he did it.
Yeah, and only 43% question why it was brought out, the legitimacy, et cetera. So actually the majority of the country does think he's guilty, and that they're not questioning the charges that much. But if you watch, media, there is a massive right-wing tsunami that makes it seem like 99% of Americans don't think that this was legitimate. That's just not true. But there are legitimate issues about the timing that we keep bringing up. Because if you wait for 2.5 years and then you start prosecuting him just as he's running in the middle of the campaign, it looks terrible.
Yeah. Look, the polling also says while most Americans, 57% as you mentioned, do believe that Trump is guilty of what he was charged with or indicted with, they also think it's politically motivated. Like the prosecution was politically motivated.
And by the way, we're among those 2 Americans.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, I'm not bringing that up to say like, no, leave Trump alone. There shouldn't be any consequence. That's not what I'm saying, guys. I'm saying that the optics matter, and you don't want to turn your opponent into a martyr by making it pretty clear that the timing is politically motivated.
So look, that's why I say we're pretty much unique here as far as I know. because one side says, no, Trump should be above the law. I don't care what laws he broke. Everything is minor, so what? You're stealing national secrets, doing a coup attempt, who cares? It's all minor. It's all politics, right? He should be above the law. And the other side says, I don't see anything wrong with other politicians. I don't see anything wrong with the timing. Oh yeah, of course you prosecute him right in the middle of a campaign. Just waste 2.5 years for no reason. Was it not a crime for those 2.5 years? But if you turn on mainstream media right now, 0% of the hosts are talking about the timing. 0%, right? And so they're also pretending, other than the outrageous cases like Bob Menendez where money and gold is falling out of his suits, right? They all say, no, Trump's the only one doing this. Establishment politicians are so pure. And that's why MAGA and a lot of independents go, I don't believe mainstream media. They're full of crap. I see politicians doing terrible things all the time. And these liars tell me that they're all pure, but Trump's the only bad guy? And no, they're all terrible. You guys aren't wrong about that. Not all, but I could show different crimes very specifically for different individuals that are not prosecuted.
That's exactly right. I mean, just look at Congress alone, look at their stock portfolios, and just look at how year after year they beat the S&P 500 with their stock portfolios, as if they must be the most intelligent investors, right? Or maybe they're trading individual stocks based on insider information, like, which is incredibly gross and something that you and I would be prosecuted for and be sent to prison for in a heartbeat. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, Cenk, other than the optics and how it could potentially lead to Americans seeing Trump as a martyr, there's also the reality of the federal cases and how those were prosecuted too late in the game and might end up just being dismissed once Trump is elected. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's a debacle.
If you care about consequences for the fake elector scheme, for the mishandling of classified documents, well then you should be incredibly frustrated with the Democrats who sat on their hands for 2 years thinking, well, we don't have to prosecute because it's not like he's gonna run again, right?
Yeah, look, maybe a quick and easy way to summarize this is most of media, whether it's mainstream media or right-wing media, either say Merrick Garland, the Democrats, etc., are totally innocent and Donald Trump is totally guilty. Or they'll say it in reverse. Merrick Garland and Democrats are totally guilty and Donald Trump is totally innocent of all these charges. No, they're both guilty. The Democrats and Merrick Garland are guilty of waiting 2.5 years because they didn't want to prosecute any of their own beloved elites and then decided to prosecute because Donald Trump was running against them, okay? So for people on the left, that is apparently a very controversial position, then I want anyone, people on the left or anyone in mainstream media to tell me, why did you wait 2.5 years? No one has ever been asked that question on cable news. No one has ever answered that question on cable news. So they are guilty for delaying this and making it political. And Trump is also guilty. If you don't think that Trump broke these laws, what the hell are fake electors for? When they know where the real electors are, they know when the real electors are voting. They had a scheme to actually end our democracy, but no one will believe that because the Democrats cry wolf all the time.
Guys, they implemented fake electors in New Mexico. Like this is like the point that no one ever brings up. I bring it up all the time because I just think it's so indicative of what the intentions were here. The Trump campaign had no litigation in regard to the results of the 2020 presidential election in New Mexico, okay? They implemented fake electors in New Mexico anyway.
So the reason why that's so important, guys, is because they knew for a fact that they had lost New Mexico.
Exactly.
They're not even bothering to bring any of the nonsense lawsuits they brought in the other states.
Exactly.
They know with 100% certainty they lost in New Mexico. They're like, who cares? Let's get some fake electors in New Mexico, because they never thought it was a legitimate challenge. The recounts were legitimate, the hand recounts were legitimate, asking to verify the election is super legitimate. But they were done, sometimes in some states 3 times over. They definitely lost, and they knew it for a fact. And they're like, who cares? Let's just cheat. Let's get in fake electors. Let's make sure January 6th is delayed either by Mike Pence or a riot, so that we can kick it back to the states, put in the fake electors. That's a legitimate coup attempt. And again, I'm super mad at Trump and all of these guys who got charged, and I hope they all go to jail for it. But I'm also super mad at Merrick Garland.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you got a coup attempt and you're not gonna prosecute that for 2.5 years because you love the elites so much that you think even your opponents No, 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 no. We should never prosecute anyone who's wealthy and powerful. You disgust me. There's no defense for Merrick Garland. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.